There are millions of people around the world who share their homes with animals. For some people, a pet is simply a companion. For others, it is a friend, a source of comfort, or even a member of the family. And while almost any animal can become special to the right person, not every animal is equally easy to understand, train, or live with. So tonight, we're going to take a calm look at 10 animals that can make wonderful pets, particularly when it comes to intelligence, learning ability, temperament, and their ability to form a bond with humans. This isn't a ranking of which animal is the cutest, and it isn't a ranking of which animal requires the least work, because every living animal has its own needs. Instead, we're looking at which animals can combine companionship with an impressive ability to learn and adapt to life alongside humans. So, let's begin at number 10. At number 10, we have guinea pigs. Guinea pigs might not be the first animals that come to mind when you hear the word intelligent. They're small, they're quiet, and compared with dogs, cats, or parrots, they aren't usually associated with complicated training. But guinea pigs have qualities that make them surprisingly enjoyable companions. One of the first things people notice about guinea pigs is their social nature. They are naturally social animals, and many become comfortable with familiar people when they're handled gently and consistently. Over time, a guinea pig can learn to recognize the sounds associated with its owner. It may begin responding to a person's voice. It can learn feeding routines, and it can even become excited when it realizes that its favorite person is nearby. Guinea pigs are also capable of learning simple associations. For example, if a particular sound repeatedly happens before feeding time, the animal can eventually learn to associate that sound with food. This may seem simple, but learning through association is an important part of animal behavior. And there's another reason guinea pigs can be excellent pets. They have personalities. Some are confident and curious. Others are shy and cautious. Some are energetic and constantly exploring. Others seem perfectly happy sitting quietly in a familiar place. For someone looking for a smaller companion rather than an animal that needs complicated training, guinea pigs can be a wonderful choice. They aren't number 10 because they're unintelligent. They're here because their learning abilities are more limited compared with some of the animals higher on this list. But when it comes to companionship, they can be surprisingly rewarding. Number 9. Rabbits. At number 9, we have rabbits. Rabbits are often underestimated. People sometimes imagine them as animals that simply sit inside a cage and eat. But a rabbit living in a proper environment can be an active, curious, and surprisingly intelligent companion. Rabbits can learn routines. They can become familiar with their owners. And with consistent training, many rabbits can learn litter habits and respond to simple cues. They are also naturally curious. Give a rabbit a new environment, and it will often investigate it carefully. It may sniff objects, move around obstacles, explore hiding places, and gradually learn which areas are safe. Rabbits can also develop strong preferences. They may have favorite foods, favorite places to rest, and favorite people. And just like dogs and cats, individual rabbits can have very different personalities. Some are extremely confident. Others are nervous around unfamiliar people. Some enjoy being around humans, but don't particularly enjoy being picked up. Understanding this is important. A rabbit isn't a stuffed toy. It is a prey animal with its own instincts and boundaries. When an owner respects those boundaries and develops trust gradually, the relationship can become much stronger. And that's one of the most interesting things about rabbits. Their intelligence isn't always obvious. They don't necessarily demonstrate it by performing tricks. Instead, you often notice it through their ability to remember environments, routines, and associations. For the right owner, a rabbit can become a remarkably engaging companion. Number 8. Rats. Now we get to an animal that deserves much more respect than it usually receives. The rat. Rats have a reputation for being dirty or frightening. But domesticated rats are very different from the image many people have in their minds. They are highly social animals. They're curious. They're playful. And most importantly for our ranking, They are extremely capable learners. Rats can learn to navigate mazes. They can associate sounds with rewards. They can learn simple tricks. And with patient training, they can respond to cues from their owners. One of the fascinating things about rats is their ability to explore and investigate. If you give a rat a new environment, it doesn't simply sit there. It wants to understand the environment. It investigates objects. It remembers locations. And it learns from previous experiences. Rats can also form strong social relationships. They enjoy interaction with other rats, and many domesticated rats become comfortable with human handling. Some owners describe their rats as almost miniature dogs in terms of their desire for interaction. Of course, rats are still small animals with relatively short lifespans, and that can be one of the difficult parts of keeping them. But if you're looking specifically at intelligence, rats deserve to be much higher on most people's lists. They're proof that intelligence doesn't always come in a large package. Sometimes it comes with tiny paws, whiskers, and a very curious nose. Number 7, cats. At number 7, we have one of the world's most popular pets, the cat. Cats are fascinating because they are intelligent, but they don't always show their intelligence in the way humans expect. A dog may perform a command because it wants to please its owner. A cat may look at the same command and essentially decide whether it's worth doing. And that independent nature can sometimes make cats appear less intelligent than dogs. But independence isn't the same thing as a lack of intelligence. Cats are excellent observers. They learn routines. They recognize familiar voices. They can remember locations. And many cats learn exactly when their owner usually wakes up, eats, leaves the house, or returns home. Some cats can even learn to respond to their names. The interesting thing is that a cat's motivation matters. If the reward isn't interesting enough, the cat may simply choose not to participate. This can make training feel more difficult. But with the right approach, cats can learn a surprising number of behaviors. They can be trained to use scratching posts. They can learn to enter carriers. Some can learn tricks. And some cats can even learn to walk on a harness. But perhaps the greatest strength of cats as pets isn't their ability to perform tricks. It's their adaptability. They can form strong bonds with humans while still maintaining a degree of independence. They don't necessarily need constant attention. And for many people, that balance makes them excellent companions. A cat may not always do what you ask, but that doesn't mean it didn't understand you. Sometimes, it understood perfectly. It just decided that it had other plans. Number 6, pigeons. Pigeons might be one of the most overlooked intelligent animals on Earth. We see them everywhere. On sidewalks, on rooftops, in parks, around buildings. Because they're so common, it's easy to stop noticing them. But pigeons possess remarkable learning and memory abilities. They can learn visual patterns. They can distinguish between different objects. And research has demonstrated impressive abilities in visual discrimination and memory. Historically, humans even relied on pigeons to carry messages over long distances. Their navigational abilities are particularly remarkable. Pigeons can travel considerable distances and find their way back to familiar locations. Exactly how they combine different environmental cues to navigate is a fascinating area of research. And domesticated pigeons can become comfortable around humans. With consistent interaction and positive reinforcement, they can learn routines and behaviors. They aren't traditional household pets in the same way dogs or cats are, but their intelligence makes them fascinating animals to observe and work with. And pigeons remind us of something important. An animal doesn't have to be unusual to be intelligent. Sometimes the smartest creatures are the ones we walk past every day without thinking twice. Number 5, ferrets. At number 5, we have ferrets. Ferrets are energetic, curious, and extremely playful. If you've ever watched a ferret explore a room, you'll quickly understand why curiosity is such a major part of their personality. They want to investigate almost everything. A box, a tunnel, a new object, a strange sound, sometimes even something they absolutely shouldn't be touching. That curiosity can make ferrets entertaining companions, but it also means they require responsible supervision. Ferrets are intelligent enough to find trouble. They can learn routines. They can recognize familiar people. And they can learn through repetition and rewards. Their natural behavior involves exploration and problem solving. They like tunnels and hiding spaces, and they can become very attached to familiar environments. However, ferrets aren't necessarily the easiest pets on this list. Their intelligence and energy come with responsibility. They need appropriate housing, stimulation, veterinary care, and time outside their enclosure. They also have a distinct smell that some owners find difficult. Number 4, parrots. Now we reach the animals where intelligence becomes truly remarkable. Number 4 is the parrot. Parrots are famous for their ability to imitate human speech. But simply repeating words isn't necessarily proof that an animal understands what it's saying. And that's what makes some parrots so fascinating. Certain species can learn associations between sounds, objects, colors, shapes, and actions. One of the most famous examples was an African gray parrot named Alex. Alex participated in years of research and demonstrated abilities involving colors, shapes, numbers, and object identification. His behavior challenged the assumption that birds were simply repeating sounds without understanding them. And parrots have another advantage. They are highly social. In the wild, many parrot species live in complex social groups. They communicate constantly. They learn from other birds. And they spend significant amounts of time interacting with members of their group. When a parrot becomes part of a human household, it can therefore seek similar social interaction from people. But there's an important warning. Parrots are intelligent enough that they can become difficult pets if their needs aren't met. A bored parrot can develop behavioral problems. They need mental stimulation. They need social interaction. And depending on the species, they can live for decades. So owning a parrot isn't simply about having a bird that can talk. It's a long-term commitment to an intelligent animal. And that's exactly why they're so fascinating. Number 3, horses. Horses are incredibly intelligent animals, and their ability to learn is one of the reasons humans have worked with them for thousands of years. They can learn verbal cues, body language signals, routines, and complex behaviors through consistent training. They can also remember people, places, and experiences for surprisingly long periods of time. What makes horses especially interesting is their ability to read human behavior. An experienced horse can become familiar with its owner's voice, movements, and routines, and over time, a strong bond can develop between the animal and the person caring for it. Of course, horses aren't an easy pet in the traditional sense. They need a lot of space, specialized food, regular veterinary care, exercise, and daily attention. But when we're talking about intelligent, trainable animals capable of forming strong relationships with humans, horses absolutely deserve a place near the top. Number 2, miniature pigs. At number 2, we have miniature pigs. Pigs are often underestimated because people tend to think of them simply as farm animals, but they're actually extremely intelligent mammals. They can learn routines, recognize familiar people, solve problems, and remember things they've learned previously. With consistent positive reinforcement, pigs can learn to respond to commands and perform different behaviors. They're also naturally curious. A pig doesn't simply accept its environment, it investigates it. It may push objects around, search for food, figure out how things work, and remember solutions to problems it has encountered before. That intelligence can make pigs fascinating companions. However, there's an important point about the word miniature. A miniature pig can still become much larger than many first-time owners expect. They also need proper nutrition, space, enrichment, and veterinary care. So they're certainly not an effortless pet. But when it comes to intelligence, learning ability, and problem solving, pigs are among the most impressive animals that can potentially live alongside humans. And that's why they take the number 2 position. Because there is another animal that deserves serious consideration. The dog. Dogs have been living alongside humans for thousands of years. And that long relationship has produced something remarkable. Dogs are exceptionally good at understanding human behavior. They can learn words and perform countless other jobs. Different breeds also have different strengths. Border Collies, for example, are famous for their learning ability and working intelligence. Retrievers are known for their cooperation and responsiveness. German Shepherds have been used extensively in working roles. And many other breeds have developed their own specialized abilities. But perhaps the most important factor is the relationship between dog and owner. A dog doesn't simply learn because it is intelligent. It learns because it has a reason to interact with you. Food can be a reason. Play can be a reason. Praise can be a reason. And companionship itself can be a reason. That combination of intelligence, social behavior, and willingness to cooperate makes dogs some of the most trainable companion animals on the planet.